Good afternoon, everyone. This is the end of day 11 at the federal courthouse in Las Vegas. This is the trial of the century that everyone should be here and supporting, and show your support down here for these guys. There's every day we learn something new in this trial, and it's just amazing to be a part of. You never know what's going to happen. Today was another one of those days. It was an awesome day, and we ended with juror questions again today. Another big insight on what these jurors are thinking and the questions they're getting. I got Neil Wampler with me. We the day we ended a little bit earlier, so Neil and I got to spend a little bit of time here together after everyone left. So it's kind of quiet down here. It's kind of nice in a way because we get to go over our thoughts a little bit easier without all the noise and interruption. A while ago, we wanted to bring up a point here that we thought was very interesting. It happened this afternoon. Neil and I decided to walk over to a little cafe and grab a drink, coffee and tea at the end of the day here, just sat down for a moment. And while he's walking over there, there's a large group that we were walking with. It's right downtown Las Vegas here, right along, I guess what you call the strip area or something, Fremont Street. The prison van came right barreling downtown with these escort of highway patrolmen, marshals, their sirens blaring, lights and everything. I mean, very noisy. It looked kind of scary as it was moving through all these people in traffic.
It's like they had John Dillinger or Osama bin Laden in there or something.
Yeah, it was, like they was escorting somebody really dangerous. And actually all the people on the street, which we didn't know any of them, turned to look and see what this commotion was all about, all these sirens and what this noise was. After it passed by, everybody's like wondering what happened. What was this all this commotion there? And Neil and I, we informed them, well, that was a van load of prisoners that was being transferred from the courthouse over there in the Bundy trial. And they was like, the Bundy trial? And we said, yes, the ranchers that are being tried here in Nevada for grazing rights out here in Clark County, Nevada. They seemed somewhat surprised. And then Neil told them, he said, yeah, them are our friends. He let them know that these are our friends in this van being transported by all these marshals and cops, these scary guys. And we noticed the rest of the way to this cafe, as we were walking down the street, they stayed like 20 feet back. We didn't have a lot of people around us anymore. We were standing alone literally on the street.
I guess they were afraid of a drone struck or something.
You actually told them. Neil actually told them that he said, I was one of them that was charged in Oregon too. Yeah, that was acquitted. So we didn't have very many fans around us after that moment. But it just shows you the way these the way they escalate the situation. They can give these guys a comfortable ride quietly back to prison, to the Prump, to house them, or to Henderson, and instead they escalate the situation. They make it look like it's so dangerous, and actually they are taking other people's lives into danger by driving high speed through town where there's so many people. It's really busy downtown right now because of the holiday tomorrow. There's so many people going back and forth, but these marshals and highway patrols, by driving through these high populated areas, are actually endangering people. So it seemed a little over escalated to me the way they're doing this.
Overkill.
Yes.
Everything like that. It's so typical, as everyone's seeing it, what the federals do. Many people who were in Burns, Oregon at the time of the Malheur thing, it was completely insane, the military occupation they did at that time. Of course, we were miles away. One of us, when they heard about all that, said, we don't have any guns that'll shoot 30 miles.
Yeah, that's right.
We had no idea.
Exactly. Kind of call there real quick. Sorry about that. So we to get back into what happened today, at the end of the day, we finished up with this witness, Mr. Petrie. He's was a second government witness that has been called up until this point, and that's where we ended today. The jurors got to question him towards the last here today, and we had again 9 jurors out of 16 that are sitting there, counting the 4 alternative jurors, 9 jurors that asked him questions. They 9 questions. I want to go over some of those questions with you that were pretty interesting. It gives us an insight again of what these jurors are thinking. The first question that was read is, what are the amendments? The amendments of the Constitution. One of these jurors wanted to understand a little bit more into these. What are these amendments? And what numbers were they? What? So anyway, that was answered by this witness. The amendments, they said, was one of them was Article 1, Section 8, talking about the land rights. Article 4 was talked about, and the 10th Amendment. So these were brought back up to the jurors and tried to give them a little bit what they could. This witness is a professional witness. He's an attorney for 35 years, and he's actually a federal attorney. So he had the information and the knowledge to answer these jurors. But as always, they kind of vaguely beat around the bush when they're trying to answer these jurors, and it's the judge controlling these juror questions. But there was a juror that asked that question. The second question that same juror asked is about the phone call to Metro. This phone call was when Cliven Bundy seen a BLM officer out in the Gold Butte area where the cows were, and he went out there to see what this BLM officer was doing out there. I think this BLM officer might have been rounded up in trying to capture burros, wild burros that were out there. They was trying to get rid of a few burros. They thought there was too many out there on this Gold Butte area. But Cliven had approached this BLM officer and was asking him what his duties were out there and why he was out there. And he actually called Metro to come in. And he wanted Metro to back him up. Metro never showed up, but he did make a phone call to Metro. It's been put into the record here. The jurors wanted to know, was that phone call recorded? And if so, where is that recording? This witness did not claim that he didn't know nothing about it, so that question went unanswered. The next question there was about water rights, and wanted to know, and this has been asked many times, the water rights. So we're going to talk about several of these jurors asking about these water rights, which is a big part of this case with Cliven Bundy owning the water rights. And they wanted to know where does the rights of these, where do they get these rights from? They haven't still got this clear, the jurors haven't. Where do the water rights come from? The state of Nevada, the federal government, and where do these rights come from? And this lawyer, Mr. Petrie, brought up the Hage case and the Hunter case. The Hunter case, I think, goes back, it's the United States versus Hunter and the United States versus Hage. The Hunter case goes back, I think, as far as the 70s, if I remember right. But the Hage case is more recent. And it's kind of another case here that's involving a rancher here in Nevada again. And actually, the Hage case was ruled for the Hages, if I remember right, several times until it was actually overturned by the 9th Circuit District Court. But this attorney did not go into all those details, just mentioned that the 9th Circuit disagrees with the Bundy's theories on land rights and grazing rights. Then we go into the next juror, juror number 9, and wants to know, when the BLM offered to sell the cows, would Mr. Bundy receive the same amount of money as if he would have sold them himself? That question was never answered today. So that witness was not allowed to answer it. The judge deemed that question was beyond the capability of this witness to answer. This witness should have known that, because this witness was the attorney that was litigating the case. So it's very important to recognize that this Mr. Petrie was the one who took the case. He was litigating it for the BLM. He was the one who was very involved. He's the one who got the impoundment set up and helped that all take place. And in these previous court orders, he got with the cattle brand inspector and all that stuff. So he should have known that answer. That was not allowed to be answered. Juror number 10 asked a question. He mentioned minimal restraint. What does that mean in this document that has been brought in, but they don't really know what the document really is yet? The jurors don't. We get to know the inside of that, but this document that's been brought in it's the threat assessment, and this document, we're not really allowed to talk about it much publicly to the jurors, so the jurors heard this, but they heard the word minimal restraint from this document, and they want to know what that meant. They wanted to know, was that the case? This minimal restraint was when the case of the impoundment took place. Were there other appeals? Were there other court stuff still being taken place in the background? And so what did that mean by minimal restraint? And what did it mean by were there these other appeals? The minimal restraint was not answered again by this witness. And because there's so much redacted stuff, he's not allowed to talk about it. But the impoundment that took place, we're going to get back to that again about Mr. Whipple, because they want to know if there were appeals in place when the impoundment took place. And that witness, Mr. Petrie, actually said no, there was no other appeals or court orders or court things being taken place at that time. But like I said, we'll get back to that in a moment towards the end of this. Then the juror number 12 wanted to know if in this document, this 50-page document that's not being allowed to talk about, is Ammon Bundy's name mentioned, Ryan Payne's name, and Ryan Bundy? Or is it just Cliven Bundy? The witness said that no, them other names were not mentioned, just Cliven. Now, in today, over this document, this 15-page document that is the threat assessment that was just turned over to us yesterday morning, this new information, Mr. Sheese declares that Ammon Bundy's name is mentioned in it and other sons. Mr. Whipple asked him, said, have you read it? Mr. Sheese, have you read this document? Do you even know what it says? Because Ammon Bundy's name's not mentioned in it. This witness, Mr. Petrie, obviously read it because he stated under oath that it's not there. And that Ammon Bundy's name's not in it, Ryan Bundy's name's not in it, or Ryan Payne, just Cliven Bundy in this threat assessment, this 15-page document. Mr. Sheesh, when Mr. Whipple told him, have you even read it? Do you don't even know what the document says? Mr. Sheesh says, Your Honor, can I have a few minutes to sit down and read this document? She didn't give him time. So Mr. Sheesh turns this document over yesterday morning and says, this is all the new discovery we've got, and this is all you need. This is all we've got. But he hasn't even read it. Where did this document come from? How new is it? There's not even a date on it that I understand. We don't even know if it was just made up just a couple of days ago, or if this document was made up 10 years ago or 12 years ago. We don't know. There's a lot of redacted stuff that we don't know about. It hasn't even been made totally public. They read in general. They don't even talk about it. A lot of hidden stuff. This is actually a secret court when these kind of things are happening. They're suppressing the evidence, suppressing the truth in this court every single day, and it's being proven by the stuff that has been coming out in these last several days. Juror number 13 wanted to know, did Cliven ever speak to the newspaper? What was that newspaper's name? The Free Range Report?
Yeah, Free Range
Report.
Yeah.
Free Range Report. The Free Range Report did a report on Cliven Bundy some years back, and they had statements of Cliven Bundy supposedly in this. But this juror, with juror number 13 question, wanted to know if the newspaper was like fake news, because that was brought up. Anybody can report anything just like I'm reporting it here. I haven't talked to Cliven Bundy. I haven't talked to Ammon or Ryan Payne. None of these guys. I could be just telling you whatever. The Free Range Report did a report on Cliven Bundy, mentioning Ruby Ridge and Waco and making Cliven Bundy look really scary, supposedly, to the public. Did the newspaper actually get their report from Cliven Bundy, or did they make it up? Was it hearsay? How did they get that information? That juror wanted to know, and That question there, they don't know. That was the answer. We don't know if they talked to Clive and Bundy or they made it up, or how the Free Range Report magazine actually got their information about Waco and Ruby Ridge. Mr. Whipple actually made a good point on this. It was actually Ryan Payne, Ryan Norwood attorney, that actually made a good report. He says, Your Honor, they keep bringing up Ruby Ridge and Waco to the jurors, acting like it's a big deal and a big issue that Clive and brought up. He says, if you remember, Ruby Ridge themselves, Randy Weaver got a settlement from them. It was proven that the federal agents did wrong in Ruby Ridge, and it's no dispute. It's fact.
Weaver was found not guilty.
Yes, it's not guilty, and of those charges by juries. And so, with them bringing it up, the reason Clive had fear is because he was in fear of his life. He did not want another Ruby Ridge or Waco to happen to his family and the situation here. So that's the reason this was brought up. We had another question by the jurors today. It says, how far does Mr. Bundy's water rights go out of the Gold Butte area? The whole Gold Butte area, how far does it go? The judge answered this. She would not let the witness answer this question. She said, has it been proven yet that Mr. Bundy owns any water rights? And I don't think it will ever be known. We've been talking about water rights for several days this trial. The jurors know there's something about these water rights. And these water rights have been litigated and talked about how it's state rights. The Bundys own these rights that are not given by the federal government. He's owned these rights as far back as 1877. And the judge goes ahead and goes a step further and does not allow this lawyer that has been litigating this case for years for BLM. The BLM is his client, and he works for the federal government. She goes as far, it hasn't been proven yet that Mr. Bundy owns any water rights, and I don't know if it ever will be known. She went too far there. This here, the judge is acting like a prosecutor. She's answering questions that the witness should answer. This witness was for sure qualified to answer it. He is the attorney for the federal government. It just doesn't make sense they get this. Juror number 15, question number 15 says, what is the cost of a grazing permit? A perfect question. This lawyer should be able to answer that. The jurors want to know, but the judge again refuses to let this witness answer that question. She said, it's not a question for you, the jurors, to know. You don't need to know the cost. It's not for you to litigate this. This has nothing to do with the indictment and the charges. So don't concern yourself with these kind of questions. Thank you for your questions, jurors. And that was the last question they read today, and it ended. The jurors were this witness. Before the jurors were let out, the judge gave the prosecution and the defense team one more chance to question this witness, to ask him any more final questions. The prosecutor said they had no more questions. Mr. Whipple got up and he says, I have a question, Your Honor. I have one more question. One of the jurors asked if there were any ongoing litigation for the grazing rights out there. Wanted to know if there was any appeals taking place. He says, and I think the jurors should know. So he asked that witness, are there any other litigations or appeals happening right now on this case? And the witness actually answered yes about the same time. Mr. Sheesh and Stephen Myrie threw their arms up, jumped up. You talk about mad. That was the highlight of the day. Seeing these prosecutors just losing their cool. They were so mad they were actually steaming. You could tell the steam coming from the top of their head. They were mad.
We were actually seeing, though, it's good to see some true adversary proceedings in this trial. Mr. Whittle this morning was pounding the table. He was so heated in some of his arguments. And Meyer and Chase too are getting pretty hot under the collar. That's in a way, it's wonderful to see that. This is a real. They're really in there punching. It's great to see it.
We're seeing where the prosecution's actually calling names at these defense lawyers.
It's getting personal.
It is getting so personal where the defense is actually calling them young lawyers, calling Dan Hill a young lawyer, unprofessional, saying that Mr. Whipple should be more responsible and he knows better in bringing up these things. It has been amazing to see this kind of stuff happening. We have had just an amazing day today. The jurors left the room, and the judge afterwards, the prosecutor wanted to reprimand. He said, "I want sanctions put on Mr. Whipple for his actions and his outburst of just saying what he said." And he said he brought up a situation that was already made an order on. He wasn't supposed to bring it up, and Mr. Whipple says, "I didn't break no order, Your Honor." He said it was filed the evening before this trial was started. There's a new case here about the grazing rights. Roger Roots filed this motion here to be reheard by the Ninth Circuit District Court. This here was not out of line. It wasn't against the order, and she admitted that it wasn't, and she decided that it wasn't. She wasn't going to put no sanctions on Mr. Whipple. I see that Kelly Stewart wants to join here. I'm going to try to bring her in here. Let's see.
Kelly.
Let's see what we can do here. We're going to try to add her here. See if we can get her in here real quick. Give me just a moment.
Who is that for the sentence up there? Not Twain, but something.
Daryl Thorne. We tried to do an update with Daryl Thorne yesterday, and it didn't go too good. I just sent you an invitation, Kelly. See if you can come in. It says connecting, so hopefully we'll bring her in just a moment. There she is.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Oh. Okay, I've got...
I don't know if I can hear you or not.
No, it's kind of jerky now.
It's really a bad connection on your part yet. Okay, I can see you, but I don't know how everybody else can see you. It's kind of a blurry connection.
Yeah, very blurry.
Weird. Okay, I'll go right by my Wi-Fi box. We'll just let Daryl talk. He just wanted to say hi, so go ahead, Daryl.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, Daryl's.
Number 22 is where I'm at.
We're not really hearing what Daryl has to say there. It's really blurry and no voice from this end.
Daryl, you might not be able to hear John because of all your street noise, but your viewers should be able to. Yep, Daryl.
Yeah, we can't hear nothing from this end.
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Ready here?
Yep.
All right. Bill Thorne, I'm Oregon political number 22, Oregon, on the second, where listed yesterday was getting as those that showed up there at the courtroom, I'm very, very grateful that all of you showed up. And I'm very, very grateful for my brother, Dwayne, that showed up with Hellboy. I greatly appreciate that. Put out a request day beforehand. I didn't really think that anybody would that call, but when the call on, it brought help. And I greatly
Well, we're not hearing nothing on this end here, I don't think at all. We might have to try it again, another connection, because we're not hearing anything over here.
What we'll do is he can call back in just a little bit, and I'll put him on a speaker and just put him on live feed, and then I can tie you in, John, if you want to talk with him.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that. Okay.
Go ahead and sign off, guys. Your update, John.
Okay. We was trying to bring Daryl Thorne in there. He's making a phone call from prison over there in Oregon, trying to thank everybody for coming and supporting him the other day in his sentencing. I was not able to be there, but there was a lot of other people. We're sorry. It's just a bad connection on that end. But Daryl's thanking everybody. It seems like he's in good spirits, so it's a good thing. We'll give you a final little court calendar here, what's going on here. We have no more court until Monday morning, but we do have court again all of next week, at least Monday through Thursday, the way things appear. The court will be from 9 a.m. till about 4:30 p.m. That's Monday through Thursday of next week. Next Thursday will be our last day of court, and we won't have any court for 10 days. There's no court December 1st until December 11th will be our next first court date. So we'll have 10 days off, and then we'll be back. So we have court next week. That'll be our end of court for a couple of weeks. Please come and support if you can. Join us down here at the courthouse. We will keep you updated as much as we can. If you can't make it, we appreciate everybody's support. You have anything else to say, Neil?
Oh yeah, I endorse 100% what John is saying there. This is a very dramatic scene. It's an arena in that courtroom, ladies and gentlemen. It's not any kind of a polite minuet that these defense attorneys and the prosecuting attorneys are playing. Things are really heating up in here. It's a high-pressure place. So for those of us who are fortunate enough to be here, it's unforgettable. And I really strongly do suggest you come and witness what truly is the trial of the century. The stakes are gigantic, both for the government in this case and for us liberty-minded people and for the Bundy.
Well, thanks again, everyone. God bless. We're going to wrap it up for tonight. That's it. That's our update. We'll see you back down here on Monday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. Thanks again, and God bless.